Principal humiliates and expels a student in front of class, but a revelation silences the school. The whole classroom held its breath when the door opened, and Adrian, the principal, walked in with steady steps and a cold smile, and no one dared move as he headed straight to Claire's desk, eyes locked on her like the verdict was already stamped on his face. "Stand up now, you little thief, and bring your backpack," Adrian said with a threatening calm that sliced through the air. "I didn't do anything wrong," Claire said, her voice shaking with outrage. "Spare us the theatrics, or do you prefer a show, you little liar?" Adrian said with satisfied sarcasm. Emma, Adrian's administrative assistant, appeared right behind him, immaculate, a notepad in hand, and stopped beside Claire like someone who already knew how the scene would end before the first line was spoken. "Open her backpack, please," Adrian said with a biting impatience. "With pleasure," Emma said with an icy smile. "Don't touch my stuff," Claire said, her voice catching. Emma ignored the girl's plea, yanked the zipper with calculated drama, rummaged through notebooks and pencil cases, then lifted a bundle of cash like a flag, the bills snapping in the room's heavy silence. "Here's the class field trip money, exactly as reported," Emma said with cruel triumph. "That's not mine." "Someone put that there, I swear," Claire said, desperate. "Swearing in front of everyone only adds to your shame," Adrian said with cold disdain. A murmur rippled through the students, eyes darting away, hands clenched under desks, and the silence left behind was fear, not doubt. "Everyone, a round of applause for the example of what not to be," Adrian said with venomous irony. "I don't want to clap for this," a classmate said, her voice strangled with panic. "You'll clap. Now," Adrian said with cutting authority. The applause started timid and turned into a forced chorus. Claire shut her eyes, crushed by a sound that hurt from the inside out. "You're expelled, out now, and don't touch anything else," Emma said with satisfied impatience, stepping back as if opening a path. Trevor, the school security guard, appeared in the doorway like a heavy shadow. "Come with me to the gate. No scene," he said, coarse. "I didn't steal anything. Listen to me," Claire said, voice torn. "Talk to the wind." "It's more honest," Trevor shot back with hard sarcasm. Claire dragged her feet into the house, uniform wrinkled, eyes puffy. Michelle, her mum, jumped up from the couch, dropping the sewing in her hands. "What happened to you? Why did you come home like this?" Michelle asked, voice frantic. "Mom, they accused me of stealing the class field trip money," Claire said, throat tight. "This is insane. Who would dare make up something like that?" Michelle said, incredulous. "The principal had my backpack opened in front of everyone. The cash was in there like it was mine," Claire said, desperate. "No, that can't be. You'd never touch that money," Michelle said, hands to her face, breathing quick. "Everyone clapped when he ordered it. Then the security guard walked me to the gate like I was a thief," Claire said, voice breaking. "Sweetheart, this won't stand. We're going to the police station now," Michelle said, a sudden steel in her voice. Hours later, at the cold counter of the precinct, the stamp hit the paper before Claire even said her own name. "There's already a formal report filed by school administration. Everything's ready here," the desk officer said with weary indifference. "I'm not a criminal. They filed a lie," Claire said, her voice trembling with indignation. "A lie is a problem for people without proof. You got proof?" the officer said, dry and impatient. Michelle stepped forward, hair messed by the rush, clutching her purse like a fragile shield. "My daughter didn't steal anything. I know her character," Michelle said, firmness wrapped in desperation. "Character doesn't fill out forms, ma'am. Signature and fingerprint here," the officer said with automatic coldness. "This is going to ruin her life. Please, listen to what we have to say," Michelle pleaded, anguished. "I'm not the one who decides," the officer said with bureaucratic harshness. Claire's fingers trembled as she left her prints on the form, like she was being marked as a criminal. "I'll hang in there, Mom. I promise," Claire said, courage soaked in tears. You don't have to be strong alone. I'm getting help right now, Michelle said with urgent resolve. In the lobby, a news segment played on TV, and Adrian's familiar voice echoed through the room. This school does not tolerate indiscipline. We take a tough, transparent line, Adrian said, pride carefully measured. He's lying to everyone, my God, Michelle said, stung with outrage. He's using me as a warning to scare the others, Claire said, pain held tight. We're calling Michael now. He'll know what to do, Michelle said, clinging to hope. If he believes me, that's a start, Claire said, low and tense. The phone rang and a steady voice answered. Michelle gripped the handset with both hands, like she was holding onto a rope. I need you. My daughter was falsely accused and she's already been fingerprinted, Michelle said, desperate. I'm listening. Tell me everything from the beginning and keep every detail, said Michael, a well-known attorney, his attention steady. They planted cash in her backpack and had a ready-made complaint. It was staged, Michelle said, angry. I'll request an emergency hearing and challenge the procedure. Don't talk to anyone else without me, Michael said decisively. That same night, Jerry, Claire's friend and the computer lab monitor at school, sent a rushed message saying he needed to talk and to meet him at the school gate the next day. It was important. The next morning, Jerry showed up at the gate, face pale, eyes anxious. After what they did to you, I checked the logs to find anything that could help. And I saw after-hours access in the lab. People going in at night. It doesn't add up, Jerry said, tense and urgent. Are you sure about this? It could put you in danger, Claire said, sincerely worried. I saved everything on my phone. If they need me, I'll talk, but someone has to hear me, Jerry said, fear held in check. Talk to Michael, our lawyer. He knows how to protect this, Claire said, cautiously hopeful. Jerry took a deep breath, glanced twice toward the gate, and decided to take the long way home without noticing the shadow peeling off the wall. Come here, computer kid. We need to talk about sticking your nose where it doesn't belong, Trevor said with a smiling threat. I've got nothing to say to you. Let me go, Jerry said, nerves held tight. Oh, you do. You're going to hand me that phone and forget what you saw, Trevor said, low and sharp. That's a crime. You can't do this to me, Jerry said, panic turning to indignation. I can do whatever I want when no one's watching, Trevor said, brutality contained. A brutal shove slammed him into the wall, followed by dull punches that echoed down the empty corridor. Air left Jerry's lungs in broken groans, each blow erasing a little more of his voice. Give me the phone now, or I'll leave you on the floor, Trevor spat, violent. Jerry tried to speak, but only a thin whisper came out. Take it, but you won't erase what I know. You're too smart for your own good. Stay down for a few days, because if you get up again, I'll finish the job, Trevor said, chillingly matter-of-fact. The next day, Jerry's absence in the computer room became the topic of conversation, but not as a warning. It was turned into ammo aimed in the wrong direction. They're saying Jerry had proof against Claire and quietly skipped town, a classmate said, irresponsibly gleeful. I heard he found out she confessed to him and disappeared out of shame, another said, cruelty disguised as gossip. Claire heard the whispers like shards grinding in her ears and lowered her head to hide the rising nausea. I won't be quiet, even if no one believes me, Claire said with wounded stubbornness. I'm here, honey. I'm not leaving your side, Michelle said with determined tenderness. At the hearing, the room sank into a heavy silence, and Michael spread papers across the table like he was laying out the pieces of a dirty game. The accusation against her was slapped together, full of errors and lies, Michael said, firm. Explain why the police report was filed before the backpack search even happened, the judge said, eyes narrowed. Because it was staged, Your Honor. First they wanted the public humiliation at school, then they cooked up the report to make it look real, Michael said, voice controlled. In light of what I've heard today, the charges against this girl are stayed, the judge said, firm. Outside, Michelle hugged Claire hard, like she could finally breathe again. "You did it. Because of you, I can go home without that weight," Claire said, relief breaking through. "This isn't the end. It's just a breather." "We'll see it through," Michael said, grave. "I want to believe it's over, even knowing he won't accept losing," Michelle said, wary but clear-eyed. That same day, a fresh interview took over the screens, and the old, trustworthy mask shone again on a face that never admits guilt. "This school will never be taken over by bad examples. We'll keep discipline no matter what," Adrian said, threat varnished over. "He's not talking about school. He's talking about me," Claire said, choking on anger. "I'm not backing down. If it's a fight he wants, he can meet the truth," Michael said, calmly firm. When classes resumed, the first looks were a poisonous curiosity. Within minutes, anonymous messages arrived with photos that supposedly showed Claire at a party, cups, smoke, shadows that seemed to say more than they really did. "Look at the heroine of lies right in the middle of the mess," a classmate sneered. "That's fake. I've never been in that place," Claire said, outrage stifled. Trevor filled the doorway, then marched straight across the classroom like it was an open field and her dignity was the target. "Up and out! You're stirring things up, you piece of party trash," Trevor said with taunting aggression. "I'm just sitting here, I'm not doing anything," Claire said, hurt and incredulous. Trevor shoved her in front of everyone, unbothered, and her body hit the desk with a dry thud that silenced the room. "Want me to show you again how to get out of school?" Trevor said, an open threat. The hours that followed were quiet crying, questions without answers, and the heavy silence that settles into a home's walls. "I don't recognize my own school anymore," Claire said, broken-hearted. "They want you to give up. That's exactly what they want," Michelle said, firm and compassionate. "I'll endure, even if it hurts," Claire said, stubborn and tired. But what Claire didn't know was that someone else was moving in the shadows. Mackenzie, a teacher who'd been pushed out by Adrian after questioning the unfair expulsion of several scholarship students, heard about Claire's case from a friend. Tired of watching from afar and doing nothing, she decided to act. That night, with the administrative building asleep and the lights out, a door opened in a place nobody was supposed to be. "If I'm right, you'll pay for every humiliation," Mackenzie said, anger held tight as she slid down the corridor. She reached Emma's desk. In a drawer, she found a laptop, booted it up fast, and started searching for anything that could expose the sham. "Here are the photos used to smear Claire, layers of edits, and your name in the change history," Mackenzie said, shocked and indignant. There were also rows of students' names highlighted in red, comments about behavior, and a column that, with chilling bluntness, read, "Cleared for expulsion." "You turned scholarship students into a discard catalogue," Mackenzie said, disgusted. She began copying everything to a thumb drive, feeling the weight of each progress bar. Footsteps in the hallway froze the air. Mackenzie killed the screen, held her breath, and listened as the echo passed and died on the stairs. When the copy finished, she slid the drive into her jacket. "I've got what I need, but if I move too soon, they'll destroy me too," she said, bitter but careful. The next morning, Michael went hunting for documents and started pulling at numbers that didn't match the official story. "Explain these recurring donations and why the donors' names pop up whenever there are complaints about admissions," Michael said, steady and direct. "They're voluntary contributions with legitimate expectations of a seat. It's common practice. It's not a crime by itself," the accountant said, cautious. "And why do scholarship expulsions line up with the arrival of those contributions?" Michael said, cool and analytical. "I don't sign expulsions, I just look at numbers. But the spreadsheets, the seats have to adjust," the accountant said, guilt wavering. In the hallway, a secretary appeared with an envelope, no return address, eyes sweeping corners before she spoke low. "This is an internal movement report. They're asking for secrecy. I can't sleep anymore knowing about this," she said, voice trembling. "I'll protect you, but I need you to tell me who gives the orders," Michael said, firm and careful. "From the principal's office, and the assistant carries them out, always at night. Nothing on the record," she said, afraid. Michael mapped the scheme. Donations buying seats, expulsions making room, and shell companies getting slices of maintenance and service contracts for work never performed. When the court opened for a new hearing, the air was heavy. Adrian walked in like he owned the place, wearing confidence for everyone to see. "I have new documents tying the accused girl's family to money moving around at the time of the theft," Adrian said, faking certainty. "Explain where these papers came from," the judge said, watchful. "Contracts and cash deposits that match the missing amount. The community itself helped gather the information," Adrian said, playing to the gallery. "That's a lie. You made all of that up," Michelle said, outraged. "Order in the gallery," the judge said instantly. "These papers are fake, meant to mislead," Michael said, firm, trying not to show his tension. "They're not fake." "The numbers speak for themselves," Adrian said with disdain. The judge looked from one side of the room to the other and drew a long breath. "If the defense can't disprove this right now, it could change the whole case," she said, grave. Claire shrank into her chair, heart racing like the floor was falling away under her feet. "I can't watch this again, Mom. It feels like he wins everything," Claire whispered, barely any air. "Look at me." "You are not alone," Michelle said, tender and steady. The door opened into the silence, and Jerry came in on crutches, body weak, eyes steady. "Someone tampered with the school's records, and I have proof," Jerry said, voice trembling but firm. "Your Honor, that intruder is disrupting the hearing. Remove him immediately," Adrian said, irritated, trying to sound authoritative. "He's in already, and I want to hear him," the judge said, firm. "Continue, but be brief." "I found proof in the school logs," Jerry said, urgent. "Then why didn't you bring it sooner?" the judge asked, wary. "Because the security guard, Trevor, followed me, beat me up, and took my phone," Jerry said, fighting to stay calm. "I spent days recovering, scared to come back." "If he took your phone, how can you prove any of this?" the judge asked, sober. "Before I lost it, I backed everything up to the cloud," Jerry said, courage growing. He turned to Claire, his voice faltered. "I'm sorry, I should have been here from the start. But I won't be quiet now." He handed over the files, and the screen filled with after-hours access logs, document edits and screenshots showing Emma had been in the folders outside working hours. "This proves nothing," Adrian said, impatient. "It proves someone manipulated the so-called evidence while the school was asleep," Michael said, staring him down. A murmur spread through the courtroom. Moments later, another door opened, and Mackenzie stepped in with a device in hand. "I have evidence too," she said, steady. "Here are the doctored photos of Claire, the saved edits, and the list of scholarship students you plan to expel." On the screen, everyone saw the editing layers and Emma's name stamped on the access history. "This is hacking! This is a setup!" Emma screamed, desperate, but it was too late. Officers moved in and cuffed her. "You fabricated evidence. Now you'll answer for it," Michael said hard. From the back, Trevor tried to lunge, but Jerry faced him. "You beat me, stole my phone, and threatened me. Not today." Trevor laughed, arrogant, but the click of handcuffs answered for him. Adrian drew a long breath, fighting to keep his posture. "I never ordered anyone to commit crimes. I just enforced discipline." "Discipline," Mackenzie said, furious. "You expelled scholarship students to sell their seats to business owners and lined your pockets with phony contracts." Adrian tried to defend himself, but the mask had already fallen. Officers stepped in and arrested him in front of everyone. The clink of cuffs on his wrists wasn't just metal, it was the crash of an empire built on fear. The gallery erupted in relieved murmurs, finally trusting what their eyes were seeing. "You didn't destroy my daughter. You only made her stronger," Michelle said, tears steady. "I thought I wouldn't make it." "But I did," Claire said, voice choked. In the auditorium, the interim administration announced, "Claire is reinstated with a full scholarship. The injustice is over." "I accept, but no student should lose their future to corrupt people," Claire said firm. This time the applause was free, and Claire's name became a symbol of resistance. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, give it a like, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. See you in the next story.